welcome to the Veggie Kitchen. I'm your host Ed, coming to you from Orange County, California. Today I'm baking up a shoe fly pie. I'm starting with 1 cup of water, 3/4 of a cup of blackstrap molasses. Shoe fly pie is an old Pennsylvania Dutch recipe. Got the molasses in, a little baking soda. I'm going to mix this all up, get it on the stove, bring it to a boil, then turn it off. Then we'll come on back and we'll get into the pie. VeggieKitchen.org. Okay, this is the shoe fly pie. I started with the molasses and the water and the baking soda. I brought it to a boil. That's all, just to a boil. I turned it off, and now we're ready to move on to the next step, which is the filling for the shoe fly pie. I've got here my whole wheat flour. To this I have a few spices. I'm using some cinnamon, some powdered ginger, and some cloves. Mix it up. And to this, I'm adding some margarine. We always use a non-hydrogenated margarine. And for my sweetener, I'm using a brown rice syrup today. Nice texture, look at that. We wanted a liquid sweetener, something with some nice body to it. It's a great golden color. Very mild flavor if you've never tried brown rice syrup. And if you don't have it, of course you could substitute agave or honey. Originally, I think they were using sorghum syrup back when this recipe came out in the late 1800s, this recipe. Okay? All good. And now, mix it up. I'm going to mix it to get a nice crumbly texture. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for crumbs. So I'll be doing this. It'll take me about a minute or so. I got the crumbs mixed where I want them nice and crumbly. I was using my hands for most of it. I did use a fork at the end just to fluff it up a bit. So, what you need to do, I'm going to set apart just a bit, a small handful. This is going to go on the pie during the cooking at the end to give it a crumbly top. The rest goes into the pie crust. By the way, we're using a frozen pie crust from the natural food store. This is 100% organic. It's a spelt one. We have our own homemade recipe that will be on the site, but for convenience, sometimes you don't want to bake your own, so you can use these from the store, and they're great. So I have my pie crust, and we're going to layer in just a bit of the crumbs onto the bottom. Just covering the bottom is what I'm going to do here. And then what comes into play is the molasses and water mixture that we cooked up. Looks good to me. When you make this, you saw earlier we added the water and the molasses and the soda. When you put it on the stove, it starts to foam up right away. That's the action of the baking soda. But you actually really want it to come to a boil. It boiled in just a few moments and it rose up, foamed up to the top, and then just turn it off. Look at that, it's like all soupy, right? To this, we add the rest of the crumbs. Just sprinkling them in. When I first made this, I thought, come on, is this going to actually work out? Look at this, it's like a soup. But it does work out. It comes out really, really nice. You know, they call this a pie, shoe fly pie, but actually, it's a cake in a pie crust. And it was originally served as a breakfast cake. As I said earlier, this is an old Amish type recipe from the late 1800s. Some crafty Amish housewife figured this out, and it's really cool. We've adapted the recipe to keep it vegan. Originally they have an egg in it, I think. So the texture might be a little bit different, but the flavor is so cool. Okay, crumbs are in, that's it. Just trying to fill them in evenly. I think I'm being a little bit too persnickety here. Okay, crumbs are in. I'm just going to dab down the ones that are on the top so they're all submerged. And that's it. This whole soupy mixture is ready to go into the oven, okay? I'm going to cook it at about 350 degrees. So I'll get this going. I put it on a tray so it's easier to handle, because look at that, it's going to spill. Okay, I'll get in the oven. We'll come back in a little bit, okay? VeggieKitchen.org. Okay, the shoofly pie is done. It baked at 350 degrees for 35 minutes. After 25 minutes, I brought it out and I added the crumbs to the top. Put it back in for 10 minutes. I brought out the trusty toothpick, checked the center, came out clean, so I knew it was done. Simple, delicious recipe, wonderful flavor of molasses and the spices, and actually very moist. The bottom layer of this pie is nice and wet still, so don't worry about that. That's how it's supposed to be. Delicious, moist breakfast cake. Actually, you can eat this anytime, but since it is breakfast time, I think the crew and I will have a slice right now, okay? Shoofly pie, the recipe will be on the site. As always, we thank you for watching, VeggieKitchen.org.